And I want us to keep in mind, I'm not sitting here trying to say carnivore is the be all end all. Everybody should be carnivore. That's not the point of this video. Have you ever wondered about the impact of a cheat meal on different types of diets? On a standard diet, so the typical low-fat diet that most people do, a cheat day causes guilt and can also lead to some excessive eating. Now, many people report feeling satiated after they cheat on their diet, like if they've scratched some kind of itch that they had, meaning that they were missing the food and that they were kind of waiting for the opportunity to eat it. Of course, eating these foods will pause your weight loss, and it could even result in you having an upset stomach depending on what you ate and how much of it you ate. And you're risking your diet coming to an end because you might start to believe that sticking to your diet is just too hard for you to do. On a keto diet, there's this extra level of the fact that you get kicked out of ketosis and the fact that you're reintroducing high levels of sugar. And the question that I want to pose today is, what about carnivore? Like, how does cheating impact if you're eating a carnivore diet? Now, in fairness, it's going to be similar to keto in the sense that you're going to get kicked out of ketosis. It's going to be similar to all diets in the fact that you're going to feel like, can I do this forever? And is this a good idea? But by the time that someone decides to do carnivore, you would think that they're pretty committed to eating a certain way and that they wouldn't be cheating on their diet anymore. But one thing that I've started to realize is that many people choose to do a diet to lose weight. Because they're choosing to do a diet, even carnivore, for weight loss reasons, the health reasons are not top of mind, or the foods I'm actually eating are not top of mind. Now, I'm hoping that by the end of this video, you're going to see why doing any diet strictly for weight loss is a recipe for disaster. Let's just start by the basics. On a keto diet, you're eating 20 grams of carbs or less every day. And what this is going to do is it's going to solve your insulin resistance. It's going to solve your addiction to sugar. So that physiological addiction to sugar is going to be solved because you're going to go through your withdrawal process. And by the end of your withdrawal process, your body is no longer looking for extra sugar from you. This takes about 7-ish days, right? So if you're in good health, 2 to 4 days to get into a ketogenic state. If you're insulin resistant, getting into a ketogenic state can take up to 7 days. So 5 to 7 days. What would be considered insulin resistant? What are we looking for? We're looking for overweight. Again, most people start diets because they're overweight. So chances are you're insulin resistant. If you have inflammation, right? Knee joint issues, elbow issues. If you're diabetic, automatically insulin resistant. I had 2 out of the 3. I'm sure that some people have one of them. We need to be careful when we are thinking that we can quickly get into ketosis. We're probably going to be on that higher end of 7-ish days. If you remain consistent on eating 20 grams of carbs or less each and every day, then what's going to happen is you're going to solve your psychological cravings. So now that desire to eat that's coming from your head is going to also start to go away. And now that's going to improve your internal health. It's going to improve your cognition. So the longer you're on a healthy diet, the better you're going to be able to think. It's going to improve your sleep. It's going to improve your energy. And it's going to regulate your weight. And this all takes several months. This is not a quick thing that's happening. And this is exactly what gets us all into trouble. There is this expectation that when we modify our diet to lose weight, the modifications are going to work quickly. And this, when they don't work quickly, often leads us to abandon our diet. That the modifications are going to be insignificant or unrelated to our health. So the idea that the weight loss I'm going to get trumps any possible negative side effects that could come from eating a specific kind of diet. And this is why so many people will tell you that they think keto is an unhealthy diet. It's a fad. It's ridiculous. You're removing a complete macronutrient and yet have tried it. It's also going to mean that you're eating foods that you hate, right? If you're going to do a diet, and that of course can also lead to you abandoning the diet. Because if I hate the food I'm supposed to eat, I'm going to see this diet as either temporary or unsustainable And either way, at some point, I stopped doing the healthy thing that I'm trying to do for myself. So what happens if you're doing a keto diet and you eat off plan and get kicked out of ketosis? Minimally, you're going to resume eating healthy foods at some point, and your body will be out of ketosis. So for a day or two, you'll be eating healthy food, but your body will actually be storing that away as energy. So basically those healthy carbs and the healthy fats and the healthy protein, because I'm out of a ketogenic state, I'm going to be storing that. Another level up, you might have the reaction where you fall prey to eating off plan for several days, which means that your addiction came back full force. You resume gaining weight and possibly quit your diet. In between quitting your diet and fighting with your diet, trying to get on track, if you're able to get back on track, you're going to need to get yourself back into ketosis. And now the issue that I see is that you possibly end up going through withdrawal again because the sugar is back and it's full force and it was pushing you to overeat for several days, and you got to go through withdrawal symptoms, which is very uncomfortable. I've only ever done it once. I don't suggest people doing it more than once because it was not pleasant. Now, is there any difference for people who cheat on a carnivore diet? And I'm going to say that it depends on how long you've been carnivore. Because as with any diet, if you're constantly cheating, you're not going to get the results because your body will be used to the foods that you're eating. So if I'm constantly cheating on my diet, whether it's carnivore, keto, whatever, then my body's still used to these foods. So interestingly, I have two different scenarios. I have people tell me, oh, I never had keto flu. But then when you actually look at what they're eating, they're still eating quite a bit of carb, even though they say they're doing keto. So there's a question mark in my mind. Are you actually in a ketogenic state? And then you have other people who are constantly cycling in and out of keto flu because they're constantly going above the number their body can manage and then pulling themselves back down, re-experiencing that withdrawal. After 2 months of my own experience with doing a carnivore diet, and I was strict, I only ate meat and fish and eggs, and I did have cheese, but no veg at all. And I learned something very interesting. The diet that you eat changes more than your body composition. So we're all coming to this diet or whatever diet we're choosing for weight loss. We want to look fit and have muscles and be that right weight. Well, fortunately, we do get that. The other thing that's happening that we're not thinking about is that the food we're eating in that new diet is impacting our gut microbiome. And so when you don't eat any veg for an extended period of time, and the gut microbes that would be feeding off those veg die, when you reintroduce those vegetables into your diet, you feel bloated, you have indigestion, and even diarrhea. I had all three. Another thing we don't think about is that we're reintroducing the toxin. So sugar is actually toxic in our body in high doses. And when you're doing carnivore, guess what you're doing? You've taken the amount of sugar that's coming in on a daily basis to the minimum you possibly could have been giving yourself. And that's terrific because it regulates your sugar in your blood. It regulates your insulin levels. As a matter of fact, a lot of our hormones get regulated when we take sugar completely, well, not completely, but as much as possible out of our diet. And the problem, though, the flip side of this coin is that it only takes a little bit. Right? So it only makes sense that if all of a sudden I eat some veg when I haven't been eating any veg, my insulin is going to rise. I'm likely to have a rise in dopamine and serotonin, leading to addictive engagement in food again. My body is going to have a reaction to the fact that I've allowed myself once again to have sugar in my life. So when I reintroduced carb to my diet, I began to struggle. What did I reintroduce? Well, I brought those nuts in because I didn't think that, well, anyways, I brought those nuts in, and it led to an excessive consumption of nuts. I wasn't having one serving. I wasn't even having 2 servings. I was having multiple servings. And I could eat nuts throughout the day. I was even eating nuts when I wasn't actually hungry because I was craving them. Now, I know most of you you're going to be like, that doesn't sound like cheating. Like nuts are okay on keto. But you need to keep in mind that when I eat them, I am losing control. So the fact of the matter is that I wouldn't eat a cookie. I wouldn't eat a chocolate bar. Those were my old go-to fun foods. And I wouldn't allow myself to do that today. But since my carnivore experience, I've noticed that nuts, diet soda, even flavored water can activate my pleasure pathways in my brain. And then I'm chasing again. I'm craving again. I'm out of control again. Because you see, it doesn't take much. When you're addicted and you just have a bit of the thing, we've seen people fall off the wagon from having a toast at a wedding. All of a sudden, they're out of control again because they introduced the thing that lit up that pleasure pathway in their head. So for me, I've noticed it doesn't take much sugar to get me chasing again. It doesn't even take actual sugar, the taste of sweet. So diet soda, that cephalic response gets me. And then, especially if I'm eating a food that I deem acceptable, that falls in line with keto, I'm much more likely to give myself some leeway on eating this. And I've noticed it with myself. Pat and I have talked about it where, sometimes you just end up finishing the veg on the plate. Now, I've had to be more conscious about that. And I want us to keep in mind, I'm not sitting here trying to say carnivore is the be all end all. Everybody should be carnivore. That's not the point of this video. I'm asking you to think about, what does it mean if I'm carnivore and somehow I find myself eating veg? What does it mean if I'm keto and somehow I find myself overeating the foods on keto that are acceptable, or I find myself allowing, on carnivore or keto, allowing myself to bring in foods that are not acceptable? Wellness warriors, I want you to think about the fact that anytime you eat off plan, you need to question why you're doing that. You need to verify with yourself. Do you notice that less garbage that you eat, the more leeway that you give yourself with the healthy veg that's on your plate? So back in the day when I was doing standard diet and I was not eating chocolate, I was not eating cookies, but all of a sudden, pizza, pasta became more meals in my week than they were when I allowed myself to eat chocolate. We can get the sugar from anywhere. Overeating healthy veg will still lead to weight gain. We need to be careful of the treats we allow into our diet. So I want you to prepare your meals based on eating healthy foods that build and fuel your body. And if you're going to eat veg, make sure it falls in line with the goals that you have for your health, right? So you're weighing and measuring your veg so that you can be certain that you're eating that 20 grams or less per day. And pay attention to how your body reacts to the veg that you are eating to ensure that you can actually eat the veg you're putting on your plate. By paying attention, what I learned is that I actually need to stop around 18 grams per day or my body starts reacting negatively. I wouldn't have been able to figure that out if I wasn't weighing the veg from all my meals and noticing that when I got past 18, I wasn't feeling great. We're trying to build healthy bodies so that we can live the life that we want to live, do the activities that we want to do, and have fun with the people in our lives, because relationships are the reason that we're so happy. I mean, I feel like we think it's the food. We think, we got together, we ate a good meal. No, we got together and we enjoyed the other person's company. We had a laugh. We had fun. So if you're going to build a healthy body, that means making good decisions about the foods you eat at every meal. I have a video about the problems of carb cycling, those myths that we believe, that you can watch after this video. And the truth of the matter is, we're trying to overcome an addiction. And I know you didn't choose to be addicted to sugar, because we're all addicted to sugar because of the way our world eats. But at the end of the day, you're the one that needs to solve that you're addicted to sugar.